early October when the biotech cohort was still stuck in a mansion of pain because of somewhat overblown worries that Washington might crack down on higher drug prices across the board, we nevertheless got a slew of what unfortunately were poorly timed biotech IPOs, which some really got crushed right out of the gate that shouldn't have been. And that's why here on Mad Money, we highlighted this new IPO merchandise, sort out the wheat from the chaff, tell you which ones could be worth buying to the undeserved weakness. Take Novocure, MVCR for you home gamers. It's a company with a novel proprietary anti-cancer therapy called tumor-treating fields. They basically use alternating electrical fields to disrupt key molecules inside cancer cells. It's a much less invasive way to stop tumors from growing than surgery or chemo or radiation, the current methods. This is a very exciting story, but Novocure had the misfortune of coming public at $22 on October 2nd, when all things biotech were out of favor, which is why the stock plunged more than 16% on its first day of trading, down to 18 and change. By the time I recommended Novocure a few days later, the stock had fallen from below 16, even though the company had just gotten FDA approval to use its first tumor-treating fields device called Optune as a first-line treatment against a glioblastoma multiforme, or GBM. That's the most common and most aggressive type of brain cancer. Optune had already been approved for patients with recurrent GBM, but this frontline indication is where the profits lie. Of course, it didn't take long for the stock market to come to its senses. Novocure is now up more than 30% since I recommended it 2 months ago. Still, even up here, the stock is still less than $3 above its original IPO price. And given that Novocure has an incredibly robust pipeline with trials underway for other solid tumors, including non-small cell lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, and ovarian cancer, there's a lot to like here. Plus, we're continuing to get very positive data about the efficacy of Novocure's technology in treating brain cancer. And in its first quarter out of the gate, the number of prescriptions soared 162% year over year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more room to run. Let's check in. Closer look. Bill Doyle, Novocure's executive chairman of the board. Hear more about his company and its prospects. Mr. Doyle, welcome to Mad Money.
Hi, Jim.
Good to see you, Bill. Have a seat.
Good to see you. Thank you.
All right, this is revolutionary, and I unfortunately, saw someone whose life was prolonged by this device, and there's no doubt it was that. And I think you just have to kind of describe it to people because it's a bit of a wonderment, and it's working.
So, as you said, we're used to surgery, radiation, and chemo as the primary cancer therapies. This is something completely different. It was invented by a professor at the Technion in Israel. And as you said, we use electric fields. Electric fields attract particles that have a charge. Most of the proteins in our body have charges. When we surround the area that has the tumor, in case of brain cancer, the head, lung cancer, the chest, pancreatic cancer, the abdomen, with our transducer arrays and create an electric field inside the cells, we pull apart the proteins that are necessary for cell division. If the proteins can't go in the right place at the right time, instead of one cancer cell becoming 2, 1 blows up and becomes 0. That's how we treat cancer.
And people have to understand that it literally looks like a small battery pack, and it attaches, you attach by wires to where the area is.
Yeah, so it works like a drug, except without the toxicity, but we deliver our therapy, just as you say, with a medical device. It's a portable device. It's a field generator. It's wearable, and the patient uses it essentially 24/7.
Now, how do you get the word out? Because when I first saw the device, I said, well, it's kind of science fiction. But in reality, the other ways are like dark ages versus this.
You know, we're in a regulated industry. Right. So we really couldn't get the word out until we received FDA approval. Okay. We've been at this since 2000. So this is not an overnight success. It's an overnight success 15 years in the making. But as you said, October 5th, FDA approval, the first approval in GBM in over a decade. Now we can get the word out. So the same week we had FDA approval, we had our salespeople in Atlanta being trained, and they're now out in the field communicating with the neuro-oncologists who treat these patients.
Are there hospital chains? I know that the HMOs, they've all backed this, right? I mean, you're getting reimbursement.
We are reimbursed 99% by private insurance.
That's pretty amazing from right out of the gate.
Well, as I said, we're not quite right out of the gate. But as you point out, this is a therapy where we have real clinical data. We have a phase 3 trial that shows superior progression-free survival, superior overall survival, and the 2-year survival in this terrible disease is increased 50%.
Now, I want to go over that because no one's been cured.
Well, we never use the cure
You
word.
can't use that term. With
But what we do see, a percentage of these patients are extended long-term survivors.
Right.
So prior to Novocure, there was essentially no 5-year survival. Now we see a 5-year survival, of around 10 to 20% of the patients.
January data point maybe on pancreatic?
Well, we are going to present at ASCO GI the first cohort of pancreatic cancer patients. So we're looking forward to those data.
Now, will that take the same amount of time, or because you've done the work for brain, will the FDA perhaps move faster? In other words, you've done the breakthrough work. Do you have to do breakthrough work for each kind of cancer?
The way the regulations work today, we need to do a phase 3 trial for each cancer. Now, what I hope is that recruitment will be faster. Again, as we get the word out, an important part of getting these trials done is to get the patients into the trials. And so there is some hope that that part of the trials will be faster now that we've been successful in one cancer.
Well, I know I've looked at 170 biotechs that have come public in the last 2 years, and I did a biotech Bible for TheStreet.com, and yours is one of about 10 that I think really does make sense. It's a remarkable company that you have and a remarkable device. That's Bill Doyle. He's executive chairman of Novocure. I urge you to go through the public filings. They're very transparent, and you can learn a lot about this. Mad Money's back after the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.